We continue our program, and with us we have Imam Abdul from the Oxford Mosque here in London, and he was telling us a little bit of his story, where he grew up and his studies, and so we're going to ask him how he got into the Oxford Mosque.
Well, I was studying in Saudi Arabia for 6 years, and at one point I decided that it was time to come back to Canada. And so this was actually early last year in 2013 when I had made that decision to come back to Canada. And so when I came to Canada, I decided to actually come out east. So instead of going back west to Calgary, where my hometown is, I decided to come to Ontario because I know a lot of people here, and I've already had some interaction with the communities here, and I found that there is a very dynamic Muslim community in Toronto and in Ontario in general. And so my intention was to come here to try to serve the community in whatever capacity I could, because of the dynamic community that existed here, and I felt that there were more opportunities.
So excuse me. So you arrived to Toronto?
Exactly. Yeah. In August of 2013, I arrived in Toronto, Ontario, and through some of the people that I knew. Actually, one of my good friends, was contacted by the London Muslim Mosque, and they had asked him if he knew anyone that would be able to fit this particular position here. And so then he passed on my contact information to them, and then I had some of the members from the London Muslim Mosque call me and invite me to come to visit London for a weekend, whereby I would give a Friday sermon as well as give a couple of lectures. And so after I came and I did that, and I got to know a little bit about the community, they had offered me to stay here, and so that's basically how I ended up coming to London. And it was interesting because I wasn't actually intending to come here, but I think that these things, they happen by the way of God, and actually I'm quite pleased with the outcome being here in London, Ontario.
Yeah, and you all know that the Muslim community in London is a very big community. It's a huge community. I think we're talking about more than 30,000 Muslims in London, and area probably is going to be a little bit more. So there you go, Imam Abdul and his story. Now we have him here in London. So you've been here as an imam for how long?
I arrived here in London, Ontario in October of 2013. So it's just been over about 6 months now that I've been serving the community here. And one of the things about the London community that really actually appealed to me in terms of being able to come here and to serve the community is the fact that they're actually quite well established. I mean, the community is one of the oldest communities in Canada. And this mosque in particular was actually built in 1964, which would make it the second mosque in Canada, after the first mosque was built in Alberta, in Edmonton, in the late 1930s. And so the fact that the community here is well established and they've been running for a very long time, they've actually gotten to a point where they have passed a number of, if you want to call them the growing pains, of any community. And so, that is something that really appealed to me in terms of, the people who are working and helping to run the community now. They're beginning to be from the next generation, my own personal generation. And so, there's a lot of prioritizing of, trying to help the newer generations of Muslims within our communities, to retain their identities as Muslims as well as Canadians, and to be able to, find how the two are complementary and compatible with one another, and that it's not something that is seen to be, a conflict of sorts, but rather it's, something that a person can be Muslim and can be Canadian at the same time, while retaining, their own personal cultural backgrounds, whether Arab or whether Indian or Pakistani or whatever the particular background happens to be from.
Yeah, and the best example is yourself. Is you have a role model now here in the Oxford Mosque. Okay, Imam, what is your plan we want to develop within the London Mosque?
Well, here the community is actually quite a spectrum in terms of the people that are part of the London Muslim Mosque in terms of the congregants and whatnot, and so I want to do my best to be able to serve in a capacity to be able to impart as much benefit to as wide of the spectrum as possible, but at the same time. One of the priorities of the board members of the London Muslim Mosque was to engage more with the youth and with the newer generations. And so this was something that we both agreed to and is part of our vision. It is not in neglect of the older generation or the members who established the community, and that it is imperative and important that we continue to serve them in whatever capacity that we can, but rather on top of that and in addition to that, to also be more aware of the newer generations that are being raised here as native Canadians, and to help them develop and establish their identities throughout their own the personal experiences, because just as I went through the public school systems and I have my own experiences in that gives me the benefit and advantage of being able to relate to them at least on some level, where I understand where they're coming from and what their environment is like, which is unlike other generations, the older generations, like my parents who came and they immigrated, they never had that opportunity to be able to know, what the environment and the culture here in Canada is like. And so I think one of the most important things in helping with the youth is first and foremost to be able to connect with them and to be able to relate to their own personal experiences. And so that's what I'm hoping within my own personal capacities to be able to help develop within them.